Hello and welcome back. I'm coming at you, to you, from a different vibe today. Feeling very icky. The body seems to be no, I was going to say infatuated, surrounded on all angles by this restlessness, more of a sensation of boredom, where no matter what idea the mind comes up with for something, maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that, a thought is immediately followed that says, nah, yeah, and that thought is reflected in the body, and I can really feel that kind of dragging down negative energy in me. And for myself, I felt like this a lot in my life in the past. Was an extreme challenge for me. Became depressed because of it, and would energize it too much to the point where I identified as, this is what my life is like. What's the point? So in this video, I want to share the importance of finding your center, the point within you from which everything that happens inside and outside is observed. That center point that is there continually, regardless what's happening. You hear a lot of people talk about spirituality, and I believe there's a misconception about what it's like to be enlightened. Words, language. A lot of people, including myself in the past, assume that the state of enlightenment was this point where nothing bothers you anymore and you're just completely floating in this, just bang, you're not, bothered, or you don't even see negativity anymore. And I think this is dangerous because it creates an unrealistic expectation, or at least creates separation and strong contrast from where you are to where you'd like to be. So I'd like to clarify a few things. Finding your center doesn't mean you don't experience things that the human body is going to experience based on thoughts and so on. Even someone who has gone through an enlightening experience still goes through the mess of change. It feels like a mess oftentimes. And it's not so much that you become impervious or you're beyond and don't experience these things, but it's how you deal with it, how you see it when it happens to you, when you experience those things. Are you so enveloped, are you so taken by them that you identify as your pain and carry it for a period of time where you become destructive to yourself and others? Are you lost in a false identity? And the process of enlightenment is recognizing when you are lost in a false identity and coming back to your center. Whoa, wait a minute. You say to yourself, that's not real, because I've seen this many times and this is a repeating pattern. How is it that I'm feeling this way, but yesterday I was this way? The day before I was like this. The day before I was like this. The day before I was like this. Which one is me? So to become enlightened is to recognize that all of those are not you. And those are fluctuations. And each time one of these repeating and recurring ego fragments, pain fragments, as well come into your perception internally, when you see them, you have a choice. You are there, you are aware enough, conscious in that moment, where you can recognize it and say, no, that is actually not me. You can feel the urge and the pull, where one time that conditioned thought would have taken you, and you can allow it to be there. And allowing it to be there diffuses it, and you recognize it has actually no power over you. The thing that oftentimes will deter a person from any kind of spiritual development or giving it any kind of sincerity is time. You might sit for an hour and recognize that it's a really uncomfortable place to be, just by, just observing your inside is a very uncomfortable place to be when you're in this type of vibration, if you will, when the vibratory field of your body is messy. You can recognize in those moments that these things come and go, and there's no need to rush it. There's no need to rush the process. That what you feel is what you feel. And oftentimes when you are in that meditative place where you're sitting on the ground, whatever it is that you do to meditate, when you might even notice that it seems worse. It might become intensified when you really look at it. So that urge to escape from it will be there, and so on. And a person might get frustrated and say, I'm not making any progress, and so on. Each one of those voices, an ego fragment, reaching for you to believe in it and identify as it. The moment you attach your identity to any one of those, I don't want this, or any feeling that pulls you, that you go into and I adopt as now this, and carry that energy field about you, in you, around you, is a false you. Your center is the point from which you observe everything. From which you observe, you are the observer. And it sounds like mumbo jumbo mysticism until you recognize it for yourself. So so in this video, I'm really encouraging you to be sincere in your spiritual work. And also I posted something on Instagram that said something like, don't forget to look at the stars and to see your perspective, your place in the world, because oftentimes we take our inner world and our experiences so seriously that we forget to let it go once in a while. And sometimes just looking up at the stars at night kind of put everything into perspective. We're just on a tiny little rock, speck of dust basically, and that speck of dust is quite big compared to what we are, and we're just this tiny little piece of life. Just this little piece of life, taking everything so seriously. So finding your center gives you that point from which you can allow time. You can allow that negativity to just be there. No need to rush. No need to change it, because you recognize that it's a repeating pattern. And every one of those repeating patterns that keep coming back and coming back, if you keep observing, you'll recognize that it's a recognition. It's just an old pattern of thinking that comes in with feelings and emotions and an urge to identify as that's either good or bad, usually follows that pattern, and it's that urge that comes in you to either say, oh, this is bad or this is good, that urge that you want to do something about it. When you jump into that urge, you kind of lose your center a little bit. You go into that unconsciousness. You identify as that pain that you're feeling. You feel a victim of. You become sort of empowered in not necessarily a positive way to change it. You adopt this fight for what you believe in mentality, where you have a shield and a sword against what you're currently feeling, labeling it as bad. Putting all labels down, good or bad, whatever it is that you see inside the body, you can recognize its repetitiveness. And you can see at a certain point that it doesn't help you to go into those those old conditioned states of mind and being. It doesn't necessarily help you at a certain point. It, more than anything, takes you away from that center point. So being in that center point, resting in there, you allow all to pass. It's like a tree in a tropical storm. It just sways and sways and sways. It doesn't complain. It doesn't want less of the storm, less often. It's just there. It can allow it all to come and go. Storms come and go. And when a tree is moved quite a bit, those roots become disturbed. Oftentimes the roots grow stronger afterwards. And that tree, if it remains, if it doesn't get knocked over, has the opportunity to grow from that experience. So each experience carries lessons. Not that you need to apply lessons, and it's not important to, oh, this is a new lesson and all of that. But when you go through something like that ickiness in your body, you're going to have a choice. Do I put on that old shirt, that old hat, those shoes that don't fit me anymore? Or do you just allow the storm to blow past? You don't need to focus on the storm. You can distract yourself with activities if you want, which is fine. Oftentimes it's a productive use of that energy, right? Or you don't have to do anything with that energy as well. But focusing on it, especially if you recognize it's making you feel worse and worse, is probably not going to help you. Simply recognizing it for what it is, just an old conditioned thought pattern, an urge, just a natural part of being a human. It's not yours, but it's the conditioning that's been handed down to us in the past. Everything you see on television, that you hear another person say throughout your whole life, all your experiences accumulate, and these conditioned responses, thoughts, will continue to repeat. Your thinking is not your thinking. They are thoughts. They are just repeating thoughts. It's just a repeat. It's a record on repeat. It's the same song over and over, no matter what you see, hear, think, or feel. You, as your center, always will remain. So find your center, and from that point, you can just allow and really speed up that process. Instead of losing yourself in days, months, weeks, years, and so on into this identity, you can just let it slide, let it go. Because it doesn't make sense to stay in a state of dis-ease where your body is not at ease. Okay, it doesn't make sense to stay in dis-ease where your body is not at ease. longer than you need to, longer than is necessary. If it's not necessary at all, why put it on? Why carry it? It is a negative state which has that type of effect in your body. You're going to feel more ill. Others around you are going to see it. They're going to be reminded of their own illness, disease, dis-ease, not at ease. So find your center. There is great value. This is a video where I'm simply expressing my gratitude for having found that humble state of centeredness that I have in my life. And I want to say I'm extremely grateful to all of those people who have talked about enlightenment in the past, who have handed down this for other people to find for themselves, to anyone that is trying to help other people to find their center. Thank you to everyone, because I'm not sure if I would have been able to find it if it wasn't for their attempts in the past to have me recognize it in myself. So I leave you with that. Oh yeah, I got my camera working again, and I got the mic, so you'll probably notice much better sound quality. So I'm pretty excited about that. Wherever you are around the world, whatever time it is that you're watching this video, thank you, thank you, thank you. Peace.